Hello, I'm Jen Vanderhoven, Director of the National Horizon Centre. Thanks for joining us today for In Conversation with the NHC, where we talk to key leaders about current and future challenges and opportunities in the bioscience and healthcare sectors. And today I'm lucky enough to be joined by Dr. Daria, who is responsible for business development at Cytiva in bioprocessing. Good morning, Daria.
Hello,
Great
good
to have you
morning.
here. Yeah. So do you want to tell me a bit about yourself and your career to date, and that kind of leading into your current role at Cytiva?
Absolutely. I am basically a scientist at heart. I mean, I've been spending most part of my life doing basic research on immunology, virology, infectious diseases. I mean, working first in cell and gene therapies and then in infectious diseases in the tropics, and working on vaccine development as well. That is particularly relevant nowadays. Then I moved into healthcare life science at that time, that was 2008, and suddenly I started to work and be very much interested in how do you actually make drugs, biopharmaceutical, life-saving drugs. And I spent the past 12 years working on that. I mean, working on identifying innovative technologies in the space of bioprocessing, biomanufacturing, in the way you can actually bring them in, implement them, and make something useful out of that. So helping, the implementation in the biomanufacturing processes itself. And beside that, in the past years, I've been really specifically focusing on innovation and bringing innovation into the companies through my role in business development, meaning investing in new technologies, mergers and acquisition when we were talking about a bit larger companies, or really developing strategic partnerships. And I've done that in UK, in Europe, and actually globally.
Sounds exciting. So I guess you're perfectly placed then to tell us what you think the current challenges that the UK faces in cell and gene therapy manufacturing.
So I would say that the challenges of cell therapy and gene therapy, they can be common but quite different. When you talk about gene therapy, I think the biggest challenge high level will be the industrialization, is part of the strategy of developing cell therapies, the fact that you have a very personalized, smaller groups of target patients that you're going to treat. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the robustness and the reproducibility that is very typical of other biopharmaceutical. And I think, bridging the discovery of cell therapies in universities or small centers all the way to make them biopharmaceutical drugs that are really following all the requirement, guidelines, and quality and robustness in the way they are produced is one of the biggest challenges nowadays. And this is really very specific for cell therapy and a little bit less for gene therapy, that is much closer in a way to the classic biopharmaceutical that we are very, very familiar with, like monoclonal antibodies or insulins, or that have processes that are very standardized. What is peculiar of the gene therapy, though, is that we don't have yet a platform of manufacturing, sort of a plug and play place to go where you put your own viral vector at the beginning and you're going to get a very effective process that leads you to the clinical material at the end. What does it mean? That the biggest challenges are really trying to create these platforms, and now more than ever, with viral vector used not only in gene therapy, but in vaccination as well, you really have this need where you're not anymore planning to work on one single gene therapy, but you would like to use the same vector for multiple therapies. So now it's even more important to have, in one side, very good standardized platform of manufacturing that can lead to high yields, high control on quality and safety of the product, but at the same time, having the flexibility of producing different materials on the same backbone. And that's, extremely complicated. And even with the great push, the utilization of viral vectors for vaccines, so large-scale manufacturing, we are not there yet. So you have different challenges and different ways, of course, to address them.
And I guess that's been highlighted recently with the COVID pandemic and the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine in particular, which was obviously using the viral vector for that. So that was a great example of academia and industry working together in a really short timeline to produce that vaccine. Do you think there's other opportunities for collaborations in the cell and gene therapies field in the future?
Absolutely. And I think you brought up a really very, very good point that in time of need, the only way to actually speed the implementation of the technology and bring really the essential drugs, gene therapies can be some of them, or like the utilization of viral vector, to the market, to the people that most need them in real time, is not anymore do by yourself. The concept of doing by yourself in a way is far gone. We just realized that we cannot do by ourselves, but we need to bring the right actor on the same table, each one with their key expertise, to make sure that quickly we bring our own expertise, we create strong collaborations and speed the process of testing first and then development until the final receiver. And one thing that happened with this pandemic and the realization that collaboration is essential is that we suddenly realized that, yes, you have the technology, you might have the regulatory authorities ready to pick up your technology, but somebody actually has to produce the drug somewhere. And the first point of that is capacity. Everybody thinks, oh, we need an industry, a facility, we need bioreactors, we need equipment. Yeah, you need all of that. But when you have identified all the infrastructure, what is at the core that is really missing? People that are actually able to operate a manufacturing line, and not only operate an equipment, but following all the guidelines, the rules that are essential for a compliant manufacturing. And here, really the concept of skills gap that wasn't only identified in UK, honestly, but all over the world. Suddenly we realized that we don't have enough scientists, we don't have enough operators, and we don't have people that are trained on the right skills to make it happen.
Yeah, so is there anything that Cytiva is doing to try and help bridge that skills gap?
Yeah, I mean, we consider ourselves like one of the biggest experts in bioprocessing, giving our heritage, not only through the different brands, but expertise in the field. And in UK, we have been collaborating with different entities in different stages, from an equipment perspective, from training perspective. And nowadays, we are, luckily enough, working together with NHC, trying to build an environment where our own expertise with the capabilities and expertise with HC can come together and really address the skill gaps in bioprocessing, especially. And we are doing that in different ways, but we are using, of course, our expert center. So we have a center for training and support on bioprocessing that will provide the skills, but we are trying to bring as well some of the new technologies and skills that can help train the operators, not only on site, that is extremely valuable and helpful. Hands-on is probably the best way of learning, by using the new technology, AIs, virtual learning, and the virtual presence that has been probably one of the most advanced and pushed technology in the training environment since the pandemic has been hitting. And one example that I can bring you is that I told you that there has been this enormous capacity building activity globally, but in UK especially, I have to say. And the biggest challenge is that you can't send a lot of operator doing, quality setup, what we call FAT, factory acceptance test. So the only way of doing that was really doing through virtual reality. So we were having local operators, and we were having our team on the other side. And through this innovative technology, we were feeling like to be hand to hand on the same type of equipment, trying to implement and follow the essential checks. And we would like to do the same with NHC. And that will allow what? Will allow, yes, quick transfer of knowledge, but the capability to reach many more people. That usually is a limitation, not only in COVID time, but is always a big limitation.
Brilliant. So I guess moving on from that, what's next for Cytiva and kind of new technologies that you'll be scouting the market for?
We are always very interested in new things, but I would say if you think about the need of the market, one focus areas is, for example, bioprocess intensification. And in layman words is how to get out more of what you have. Different ways to operate in the manufacturing line, or new type of equipment, instrument, and procedures that help you really to be much more efficient and have a better control on the manufacturing itself. Then we are always looking for innovative technologies, and innovative technologies are often, very, very small scale, new ways to transfect cells, or as much as new ways to more effectively expand in larger scale cells that are at the base, honestly, of the most part of biopharmaceuticals, and so on and so forth. So we are really looking to the end-to-end processing, trying to look each unit operation by each unit operation and increasing our exposure to innovation in that area. And the last and not least, digitalization. We are really interested, and we already started this journey many years ago, into the digitalization, not only of our own operation, but really of our own customers. So we want to help them to standardize and automate. So integrate the pieces that are the single unit operations that are in a full manufacturing platform. You want to automate them, you want to integrate them, and you want to accelerate the regulatory acceptance. So you want to predict the failure and make sure that the regulatory authorities have an appreciation for your new way of operating.
Wow. Well, it's really, really exciting. And I'm really pleased that at the National Horizon Centre, we're partnering with you along that journey. So thank you ever so much for joining us this morning, Daria, and we look forward to news from Cytiva in the near future.
And looking forward to work together with the NHC.